I'm Hem Kaur Saroy, and on the show today, despite big upsets and a resurgence of the opposition, Prime Minister Narendra Modi appears set for a third straight term. The BJP-led NDA bagged 292 seats, prevailing over the opposition India bloc, which secured 232 seats. We will bring you all that has transpired in the past 24 hours on the show today.
And what an election result it was. Of course, now election season is soon to begin in the United States. US President Joe Biden has brought in a sweeping asylum ban on migrants caught illegally crossing the US-Mexico border. A significant move in the run-up to the November elections. We bring you all the details of that right here on World DNA. Let's get you started with the headlines.
The United States will temporarily close its Mexico border to asylum seekers from Wednesday. This as US President Joe Biden tries to neutralize his political weakness on migration ahead of November's election battle with Donald Trump.
In an interview with Time magazine, Joe Biden says that there is every reason to draw the conclusion that Benjamin Netanyahu is prolonging the war in Gaza for his own political self-preservation.
CIA Chief William Burns is back in West Asia for meetings in Doha and Cairo aimed at advancing the Israeli hostage deal proposal submitted last week.
Despite BJP falling short of the majority mark, Prime Minister Modi declares that his next term will be defined by bold decisions and he is all set for a historic third term.
India bloc leaders to meet at the New Delhi residence of Congress President today to discuss the next course of action. Tamil Nadu CM and DMK Chief M.K. Stalin confirm attendance. Stalin missed the last meeting of the India bloc, which was held on the 1st of June.
Chinese AI chip firms are designing less powerful processors due to US sanctions, relying on TSMC. This reflects China's chip production challenges. China criticizes US actions as unfair.
Japanese baseball star Shohei Ohtani's former interpreter pleads guilty to bank and tax fraud. Mizuhara admits to stealing nearly $17 million from the Los Angeles Dodgers player. US President Joe Biden has introduced a new immigration policy that allows the administration to ban asylum seekers who enter the United States illegally.
Well, the policy, which takes effect at midnight on Wednesday, includes exemptions and can be turned on and off. WION's correspondent Susan Tehrani gets you more details. Take a look.
President Biden has finally acknowledged that there is a crisis at the U.S. southern border, but his executive action may be too little too late.
I've come here today to do what the Republicans in Congress refuse to do, take the necessary steps to secure our border.
Democrats say his order effectively closes the door on asylum seekers and will likely be challenged in court. He also needs congressional funding, but voters and his top donors wanted to see action.
Frankly, I would have preferred to address this issue through bipartisan legislation.
The president's move comes after months of inaction and a failed bipartisan border security deal, which collapsed due to Republican opposition saying it wasn't strict enough. Now this executive order is being seen as a political gesture rather than a genuine solution.
It's window dressing. Everybody knows it. If he was concerned about the border, he would have done this a long time ago. And we don't know what's in this. The devil will definitely be in the details here, I can assure you.
The details of this executive order are important. For example, the federal government currently doesn't have nearly enough personnel or detention space to rapidly deport everyone found ineligible for asylum under this order. So many would likely still be released in the U.S. pending an immigration case to determine their status, which could take months, if not years. Poll after poll show that the majority of Americans disapprove of President Biden's border policies, spelling trouble for him in an election year. Presumptive Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump has made tightening border control one of the main pillars of his bid for a second White House term. So the question is, will the president's actions truly address the root causes of this crisis or merely perpetuate a broken system? Time will tell. Susan Terfani reporting from New York for WION World One.
Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni is preparing to visit Albania today. A key agenda on her itinerary is an under-construction illegal immigrant detention camp.
This is the one that Italy, through an agreement with the Albanian government, plans on running. Our next report is all the details on this. Take a look.
Construction workers in Albania are busy transforming a former military airbase into an Italian-run reception camp that will house thousands of migrants picked up at sea. Looking to curb migration, Italy struck a deal with Albania last year to set up 2 migrant centers in the Balkan country. This week, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni is set to visit the former airfield to check in on its progress. The idea is that selected migrants will be sent directly to Albania after they are picked up at sea. Meloni has said officials will try and examine asylum requests within 28 days, a quicker pace than the months it takes in Italy. The vast majority of requests are expected to be rejected because the countries the migrants come from are considered safe. With the initial deadline to open the centers passed, it's unclear when they will open. Many Albanians fear the deal could impact the country's security and tourist industry. But this retiree from Jadar, where the airbase is located, says he sees no problem with the plan.
I think this is the humanitarian thing to do. Someone else has honored us before, and we have to do the same now. Governments may think differently, but above all, people have to do good things.
Human rights activists say the deal will make it harder for Italian courts to quickly handle asylum requests or appeals for people in another country. A challenge to Albania's constitutional court resulted in a verdict in favor of the government, and UN officials have also criticized the deal. However, the European Commission stated it doesn't seem to violate EU law, as it falls outside of its jurisdiction.
Now, amid talks of a ceasefire, the Israeli forces continue to pummel Gaza. The IDF launched a new operation against Hamas, in fact.
Well, in the Pyrrhic camp in the central Gaza Strip, that's where they've launched this offensive next. According to the IDF, fighter jets pounded Hamas targets in Pyrrhic as ground forces launched precise operations in the area south of the Netzarim corridor, where the army has maintained its presence. The Al-Mughari building in the Palestinian camp of Pyrrhic in Gaza was hit by an Israeli strike. In the video released by the Israeli forces, people were seen fleeing the scene and returning to help an injured man. As per the IDF, the building was evacuated before the strike following a phone call from the Israeli army.
After G7 leaders and Arab powers urging both Israel and Hamas to agree to a truce and hostage release deal outlined by US President Joe Biden, mediator Qatar said it is yet to see statements from either side to give it confidence. Though the foreign ministry also said that Doha was working with both sides on proposals on the table.
We are waiting for a clear Israeli position that represents the entire Israeli government, and this hasn't happened yet, as we saw statements from certain ministers yesterday. Any talk about reaching an agreement should have a clear position from both parties as a response to the ideas put on the table today. From our side, communication is ongoing to transfer these ideas clearly for all parties.
Meanwhile, Washington has said that it would seek a UN Security Council resolution to back the three-phase roadmap which Biden presented last Friday as Israel's plan.
Furthermore, on the northern front, Israeli army is close to a decision point for a military offensive. Israel's Chief of General Staff Herzi Halevi said that Israel was prepared for the assault along the border with Lebanon after extensive training and that it was nearing a decision point.
And the IDF is prepared and very ready for this decision. We have been striking here for 8 months, and Hezbollah is paying a very, very heavy price. Hezbollah has increased its attacks in recent days, and we are prepared after a very good process of training, up to the level of a general staff exercise, to move to an offensive in the north.
After munitions fired from Lebanon by Hezbollah ignited several blazes across northern Israel, Israeli authorities were on alert for new bushfires on Tuesday. The Israel Fire and Rescue Service said that dozens of firefighting teams worked through the night with teams from the Nature and Park Service, Army, police and other agencies before the largest fires were brought under control in the morning.
The flames encroached on Kiryat Shmona, a town near the Lebanese border that has been largely evacuated, amid near-daily exchanges of fire between the army and Lebanon's Hezbollah group, since Hamas's October 7th attack on Israel triggered war in the Gaza Strip.
In dozens of northern Israeli towns and villages evacuated under fire from Lebanon's Hezbollah group since October 7th, officials hope daily rocket warning sirens will give way to school bells when the academic year starts on the 1st of September.
Of course, the question is, will it happen? Our next report explores this.
Just north of Tel Aviv, an office building that sits atop a movie theater and shopping mall has been converted into classrooms. These students aren't from around here. They're from the city of Kiryat Shmona, on the border with Lebanon. They are among the 60,000 Israelis relocated from northern Israel since October 7th. Ofer Zafrani is the principal of Kiryat Shmona's Danziger High School.
We built here a school. We do here everything. They study everything. We try to give them whatever we can. But still, it's not their home. They are far away from homes. Many of them are very sad. They want to go back.
But they can't go back, at least right now. This was the scene last month after rockets launched by the Lebanese Hezbollah militant group struck Kiryat Shmona. Hezbollah and Israeli forces have traded fire since the start of the Gaza war. Israel has said the rocket fire, which prompted the mass relocations, is untenable and warned it could escalate its military operation in the north. Among those relocated, 14,600 are children, scattered in temporary kindergartens and schools, or premises repurposed as makeshift daycares or classrooms. Teachers told Reuters the strain of the relocations is being felt by students. According to the Israeli Education Ministry, high school dropout rates for pupils from the north can reach 5%, around double the national average. Roni Hotam is 17 years old.
This is not my school, this is not my home, and it's really scary and I'm really sad and upset about it, but I'm trying to stay positive as much as I can. Trying to survive every day, face the reality.
Now, with this school year winding down, educators, students, and parents are wondering if the next year will begin in hometowns, temporary classrooms, or bomb shelters. David Dub is an English teacher.
I am really skeptical about us going back by the 1st of September. Saying that, we're all very optimistic here. We're doing our best to give what we can to the students and to ourselves. And that's the way it is at the moment.
The big unknown remains whether or not things will cool down or heat up. Yoav Kish is the country's education minister and a member of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's Likud party.
It's obvious to us that if there'll be a full-scale war with the north with Hezbollah, we'll have to change the education system in the sense of maintaining safe locations for study, and most of Israel will be under fire, and it's a different issue than just what we have right now, which is only the northern border which is suffering from that.
The exchanges of fire on Israel's northern front have so far been contained without escalating into an all-out cross-border war in Lebanon, but scores of people have been killed on both sides.
Russian forces have now made advances in Ukraine's eastern Donetsk region.
Well, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that Russian troops were focusing their main firepower on the eastern Donetsk and not in the northeastern Kharkiv region, where last month Russia launched a new offensive.
The most battles and the heaviest attacks are in the Donetsk region. In fact, this is the main direction of Russian strikes.
Zelensky said he held a meeting with the senior military commanders in Kyiv upon his return to Ukraine from visits to several European capitals as well as Singapore and the Philippines over the last week.
The Ukrainian authorities said in the Ukrainian city of Dnipro, 8 people were injured, including 2 children. The Ukrainian Air Force said it shot down 2 Iskander-K cruise missiles over the region. The attack damaged cars and knocked windows out in residential buildings and a hospital. Russian forces also launched 4 drones in the overnight attack. The Ukrainian Air Force said it shot down 2 of them over the northern region of Chernihiv.
Moreover, Zelensky also emphasized that FPV drones are allowing the troops to hold front lines while being short on supplies. Ukrainian officials have repeatedly emphasized the urgent need for air defense systems as Russia has pummeled the country with airstrikes targeting critical infrastructure this spring.
Meanwhile, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov warned France that any French military presence in Ukraine will be considered a legitimate target for Russian forces.
As for the French instructors, I have reasons to believe that there are many specific facts on this matter, that they are already working in Ukraine. Regardless of whether they are members of the French armed forces or simply mercenaries, they represent an absolutely legitimate target for our armed forces.
The White House said on Tuesday that US President Joe Biden will meet with Zelensky this week in Normandy, in France, and again at the G7 summit in Italy. The double show of support comes after Biden came under fire for declaring that he would forego an impending Ukrainian peace conference in Switzerland to attend an election fundraiser.
Incredibly brave Ukrainian sons and daughters are on the battlefield.
And a new political star is rising in Hungary. Political newcomer Peter Magyar is preparing to take on Prime Minister Viktor Orban's 14-year iron grip.
Right. More details in our next report.
Peter Magyar is a political novice with big ambitions. He hopes to challenge Prime Minister Viktor Orban's 14-year iron grip over Hungarian politics. And last month, Magyar met with prospective voters from Hungary's Roma minority, hoping to sway them ahead of next weekend's European Parliament election. It was a rare visit to a notoriously deprived community where hundreds of Roma still live without basic necessities, such as running water. Among those who came to hear Magyar speak were Sandor Botos, a Roma construction worker, and his son. Botos was impressed. He told Reuters, quote, "No politician has done this in Hungary before. He showed the world how bad poverty is in these hidden villages, and many politicians do not know about how many children are starving and they are not in school." Magyar made his appeal explicit last weekend, telling reporters, quote, "We have nearly 1 million Roma compatriots. They are the biggest minority, and nobody has really cared about them for 34 years. Every 4 years they are being used at the election, making them vote and giving them meat stew. And yes, there are support programs to help them. I'm not saying there aren't, but those only reach a few towns. But nobody has done anything to truly support them." The Roma have long suffered from poverty, high unemployment, and discrimination across Eastern Europe. Official data shows just over 200,000 people identify as Roma in Hungary, but activists and sociologists estimate their numbers to be between 500,000 and 1 million in the country of nearly 10 million. Magyar's charm offensive may worry Orban's nationalist Fidesz party. Orban has long enjoyed the support of the Roma community and other poorer Hungarians in rural areas, thanks to cash support programs and the party's support for what it calls traditional values. Orban's party, in power since 2010, is comfortably ahead in opinion polls and can expect over 40% of the vote in Sunday's election. But the Tisha party, which Magyar has only led since April, is running second at around 20%. A workfare program launched by the Orbán government in 2011 offered employment to tens of thousands who had not held regular jobs for years and helped many of them transition to the regular job market. Alador Horvath, a Roma civil rights activist, told Reuters that annual food price inflation hit 50% at the end of 2022, pushing some Roma back into extreme poverty. He called Magyar's outreach, quote, a good direction, but he said the new political challenger was just beginning to get to know the Roma, and many Roma had yet to get to know the politician.
At least 11 people have been confirmed dead, several injured, hundreds displaced after two tornadoes hit parts of KwaZulu-Natal province of South Africa this week.
It has been reported the tornado that ripped through the Tongaat area on Monday night during a severe storm may have lasted for about 45 minutes, leaving a trail of destruction behind.
Heavy rain accompanied by strong winds wreaked havoc in different parts of KwaZulu-Natal province. According to the provincial government, hundreds of houses have been destroyed. Public infrastructure such as schools, roads, community halls, healthcare facilities have been affected as well.
On Tuesday, the provincial government said that they were on the ground and providing humanitarian support and assisting families that had been displaced. Meanwhile, parts of Northern Cape reported its first snowfall of the season on Tuesday. Heavy rains, cold temperatures and rough winds are affecting parts of Western Cape. A US Congress member's son was caught pulling funny faces as his father gave a speech in the House of Representatives.
Republican John Rose's speech was on former President Donald Trump's trial verdict, but his son was the one who stole the show in the House. Take a look. And with that, it's time now for a short break.
Don't go anywhere. Lots more on the other side. This is World DNA. When we come back, we will decode the India election results for you as Prime Minister Modi vows to take bold decisions in the third term. And the India bloc, of course, will be meeting today to discuss their next move. We'll get you the full report.
Also on the other side, we take a look at the Indian stock markets that suffered the massive rout on Tuesday. Don't go anywhere. All details on the other side.
Namaste. Hello friends. We did Dr. Subhash Chandra show, popularly known as DSC show, for 4 years from August 2014 to August 2018. 28 states of Bharat. Of course, we reached out to all of you in 190 countries across the world. The show was very successful. Each episode was being watched by almost 25 million people every week. For past 6 years, the demand of the show has never died down. People write to us, people ask for the show to restart again. Hence, we are beginning the show once again on All Z Network, also on WION, which is the global network channel from India. Again, thank you for your love and affection. See you soon at Subhash Chandra Show.
Everyone loves a contest. But sport isn't just about victory and defeat. When the goats in sport speak, you hear it first on WION.
You have to play good cricket over a period of time.
I should push myself right out of the damn tournament.
We go beyond the stats. Our stories are quoted the world over.
At WION, sport is part of our DNA. Come, join us on this journey. Weekdays 6:30 p.m. IST, 1 p.m. GMT.
Economic turmoil and global unrest have cast a shadow over President Joe Biden's approval ratings.
The rockets are continuing to be fired by Hamas in Gaza, although at a slower rate than previously.
So, right now, we are with the volunteers from the Aleppo municipality. They are still trying to go to the rescue for the people they can find out.
India has emerged as a major diplomatic force at the world stage.
The rising cost of living in Nigeria continues to impact citizens from all walks of life.
The citizens of Gujarat witnessed a mega roadshow here in the city of Ahmedabad.
China is South Africa's largest trading partner for 134 years straight.
A domestic aircraft carrying 72 people on board crashed in Pokhara city in central Nepal.
165 injuries have been moved, 61 people are confirmed dead, and rescue operations continue around me.
After receiving an entire season's rainfall in a span of 48 hours, Chennai city has literally been brought to its knees.
For WION, World is One.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the U.S.
And I will be here at the WION headquarters, getting you all the action from the universe of sport. All that you need to know about your favorite teams and players, right here.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of.
A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA.
Join the conversation.
Everyone loves a contest. But sport isn't just about victory and defeat. When the goats in sport speak, you hear it first on WION.
You have to play good cricket over a period of time.
I should push myself right out of the damn tournament.
We go beyond the stats. Our stories are quoted the world over.
At WION, sport is part of our DNA. Come, join us on this journey. Weekdays 6:30 p.m. IST, 1 p.m. GMT.
Welcome back to World DNA. Thank you so much for staying with us. Lots lined up for you on this side of the show as well. Let's get started.
The United States will temporarily close its Mexico border to asylum seekers from Wednesday. This as President Joe Biden tries to neutralize his political weakness on migration ahead of November's election battle with Donald Trump.
In an interview with Time magazine, Joe Biden says that there is every reason to draw the conclusion that Benjamin Netanyahu is prolonging the war in Gaza for his own political self-preservation.
CIA Chief William Burns is back in West Asia for meetings in Doha and Cairo aimed at advancing the Israeli hostage deal proposal submitted last week.
Despite BJP falling short of the majority mark, Prime Minister Modi declares that his next term will be defined by bold decisions as he is all set for a historic third term.
India bloc leaders to meet at the New Delhi residence of Congress President today to discuss the next course of action. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister and DMK Chief M.K. Stalin confirms attendance. Stalin missed the last meeting of the India bloc, which was held on the 1st of June.
Chinese AI chip firms are designing less powerful processors due to US sanctions relying on TSMC. This reflects China's chip production challenges. China criticizes the United States' actions as unfair.
Japanese baseball star Shohei Ohtani's former interpreter pleads guilty to bank and tax fraud. Mizuhara admits to stealing nearly $17 million from Los Angeles Dodgers player.
US Congressman John Rose's son steals the show as his father gives speech on former President Donald Trump's trial verdict. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to return as the Prime Minister of India for a third consecutive term as results showed the Bharatiya Janata Party leading in 243 seats.
And this is, of course, while the India bloc, it sprung a major surprise yesterday on the result day as parties, it currently is leading in 236 seats. Now, the BJP stopped short of a majority mark with 240 wins, which means Chandrababu Naidu and Nitish Kumar can become the men who will prop up Narendra Modi in New Delhi.
After reports emerged earlier in the day that the opposition bloc India has approached Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar to make a comeback again to the alliance he initiated, it was confirmed later that the JDU president will be attending the NDA meeting scheduled to take place today.
The Union Cabinet will meet today to take stock of the Lok Sabha election results and may recommend the dissolution of the current Lok Sabha. Prime Minister Modi will chair the meeting, which will begin at 11:30 a.m.
On the other hand, the leaders of the India bloc are set to convene in Delhi today to strategize their next steps following a favourable outcome in the recent Lok Sabha elections. Tamil Nadu CM and DMK chief M.K. Stalin has also confirmed his attendance.
Meanwhile, world leaders congratulated Prime Minister Modi on his and his party's third consecutive victory in the Lok Sabha elections. Counterparts from neighbouring Nepal, Mauritius, Bhutan congratulated Modi on his election victory.
Italian Prime Minister Meloni was one of the first ones to congratulate Prime Minister Modi. She wrote on social media platform X, I'm quoting here, "Congratulations to Narendra Modi on the new electoral victory and my warmest wishes for good work. Certain that we will continue to work together to strengthen the friendship that unites Italy and India."
Mauritius Prime Minister Pravind Kumar Jugnauth said in a post on social media, "Congratulations, Prime Minister Modi ji, on your laudable victory for a historic third term." While Nepal Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dal congratulated Prime Minister Modi, saying, "We are happy to note the successful completion of the world's largest democratic exercise with enthusiastic participation of the people of India."
Bhutan Prime Minister Sherin Tobgay has said that he is looking forward to deepening ties with India. Sri Lanka said the victory showed the confidence Indians have in Narendra Modi's leadership.
Maldives President Mohamed Muizzu also sent a congratulatory message to the Prime Minister.
We're now being joined by Dr. Makaran R. Paranjpai, author and commentator. Sir, thank you so much for joining us once again. Always a pleasure to have you, of course. Of course, I want to begin by asking you, how do you assess the election results? We've seen some major upsets, as you of course know, for the incumbent and a resurgence of the opposition. What does this point towards?
First of all, it's a victory of the Indian electorate. We focus too much on political power of leaders and on political parties. But it's the electorate which holds the real key to the election outcomes. We saw how most of the exit polls were wrong, and some of these pollsters even apologized and cried on television. Of course, they're not to be blamed personally. That's not the way elections go. But the electorate is the one that has come out on top. And the robust election counting and declaration mechanism show that India is truly one of the great democracies of the world.
Dr. Paranjpai, the two names which have come up as after the results were out, which have proved to be pivotal in, Mr. Modi reaching this third term in office, Chandrababu Naidu and Nitish Kumar. What kind of a role do you think they're going to be playing in this third term?
Well, they are obviously the kingmakers. Between them, they have 28 seats, and the BJP is short. They have about 240. They need at least 273, maybe a little more, to be comfortably across the halfway mark. So they are going to be the kingmakers here, and who knows what kind of, pound of flesh, if not these two individual gentlemen, but the entire coalition dharma, as it is called, the compulsions of coalition politics, what kind of sacrifices it will demand.
Dr. Paranjpai, also, the statement which came out from the BJP cadre was that they are preparing to make some bold moves in this third term. How much do you feel they are capable of taking those kind of decisions the way they could in their second or the first term in this particular term, given the way they've won on the basis of, regional players?
Yes, maybe part of it is rhetoric. In fact, I was listening to the so-called victory speeches. And, for a moment, one thought that they have not even looked at the actual result numbers. But it's a part of the bluster, the confidence building. And let's not forget, they have actually won. They are the largest single largest party. Also, the alliance is comfortably over 272. But obviously, coalition politics is totally different. We've seen coalitions in the past, both UPA, NDA, Vajpayee-led, and then, of course, Manmohan Singh's, and even further back in the past. And you can't run them the way single-party majority governments are run.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Paranjpai, for joining us. Of course, it was barely 24 hours ago when we were thinking that, okay, the numbers are going to come out and then the exit polls are going to be true, and then everything changed through the course of the day. Thank you so much for sharing all your insights. There'll be lots to discuss in times to come. We'll have a word with you again.
Thank you.
All right, moving further, all eyes will be on how Indian stocks perform on Wednesday after crashing significantly in the previous session.
Right, benchmark stock indices plummeted on Tuesday, raising $386 billion in market value. The bloodbath was driven by the tallies that showed Prime Minister Narendra Modi's ruling party struggling to win a majority of seats in national elections.
Now, this is a stunning result after exit polls showed he was in place for a landslide victory. It seemed like a tsunami of sorts, but then what happened was completely the opposite of that. Investors raised questions about the new government's ability to push through politically difficult reforms with a thin majority. These reforms are seen as crucial to sustain India's economic growth, already the world's fastest.
Sunil Tirumalai, a strategist at UBS, said, I'm quoting here, as BJP does not have a simple majority, the bargaining power shifts materially within the alliance, and added that most scenarios from here could be taken negatively by the market compared to expectations last week.
The Nifty tumbled as much as 8.5% at one point, coming close to hitting its first circuit limit since COVID-era crash in March of 2020. The sell-off had echoes from the 2004 elections when the BJP's unexpected defeat triggered a market crash. Trading was suspended twice when the Sensex index fell more than the 10% limit, the first time in the exchange's history.
Now, the rout eroded the combined market value of BSE-listed companies by $386 billion to $4.73 trillion, with India's stock market volatility indicator hitting a 52-week high. Analysts predict the current volatility to continue. Nonetheless, some investors are banking on continuity in the government's infrastructure and manufacture-led drive to boost growth.
Dong Shen, Chief Asia Strategist at Pictet, said, I still think the policy direction of Modi will likely stay, which should support India's economy in the long term, quote unquote.
All right, let's now take a look at all the developments from the world of technology. Social media platform X says it will now formally allow people to use consensual adult content. A condition here is that it should be clearly labeled as such. X says it is restricting adult content for children and for adult users who choose not to see it. This new policy of X stands in contrast to other social media platforms such as Instagram, Facebook, TikTok and YouTube.
New York is planning to prohibit social media platforms from showing algorithmic feeds to teens without parental consent. According to reports, state lawmakers have reached a tentative agreement on a bill. And this is happening because social media platforms in recent years have come under scrutiny for their addictive nature and impact on the youth. It's believed that the new move could help address this issue.
For decades, Intel has dominated the market for the chips that run everything from laptops to data centers. But in recent years, its competitors, especially Nvidia, have soared ahead on specialized AI processors. Therefore, Intel has come up with its next generation Xeon server processors in a bid to regain data center market share. The 6th generation Xeon chips are crucial for Intel, which has been steadily losing data center market share to AMD.
All right, now let's take a look at what's making news in the world of